The phone startled me awake at exactly 2:17 a.m., cutting through the silence of my hotel suite in Tokyo. I was mid-negotiation in a multi-million-dollar property deal, so a late-night call from home was the last thing I expected. When I saw my father's name on the screen, my chest tightened. "Dad? What's wrong?" "Jessica. I hate to be the one to tell you this," he began, using that familiar, insincere tone that always hid a hint of smugness. "Your apartment building is on fire. I'm watching the live report right now." I shot upright. "What? Which building?" "The Grandview Apartments on 5th. The little studio you insist on living in. The entire place is going up. Fire trucks everywhere. It's been burning for hours." I grabbed my laptop and pulled up the news. There it was, Grandview Residential Complex, smoke and flames visible on multiple cameras. Dad continued, voice dripping with condescension, "I hope you bought renter's insurance. Though, knowing your budget, I doubt it'll cover anything meaningful. Maybe this is the wake-up call you need to stop pretending you can live on your own. You can always come back home." I laughed. Not politely. I burst into laughter. "Jessica, what on earth is funny about your home being destroyed?" I took a breath, trying not to laugh again. "Dad, that building wasn't just where I lived." A pause. "What are you talking about?" "I mean, I own it." The line went completely silent. "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" "The Grandview Residential Complex. I purchased it 18 months ago under Summit Property Holdings. I own all 47 units." He sounded stunned. "That doesn't make sense. You live in a studio. You pay rent." "I live in the penthouse that I redesigned myself." "And the rent?" "I've been paying it to my own company." The confusion was practically vibrating through the phone. "Jessica. I thought you worked customer support for some tech firm." "I work customer support for the company I founded. Summit Property Holdings. And Summit Technologies. I started both 6 years ago." I walked to the window, gazing out at Tokyo's skyline, sleek, quiet, powerful. "And yes, Dad. The Grandview building is insured. Fully. For $12 million. Another heavy silence. $12 million. That's only that property. My full real estate holdings are valued around $420 million. This time, he didn't speak at all. "Dad? You there?" At last, he whispered, "400 million. Before I could answer, alerts popped up from the emergency management system I'd installed in all my buildings. I patched into the live line. "Chief Morrison? This is Jessica Chin, owner of the Grandview Complex. Good to hear from you, Ms. Chin. The fire started in Unit 3B, faulty space heater. Your suppression systems activated correctly. Damage is contained to 2 units. No injuries. Your property manager already relocated the tenants per your protocol. Estimated cost? Roughly $80,000 in repairs. 2 weeks to restore. 80,000. Less than the price of one painting in my penthouse. Thank you, Chief. Keep me posted." When the call ended, Dad was still silent on the line. "Jessica, you just coordinated with the fire chief. That's what happens when you own a building, Dad." "But, how? When?" "I don't understand." I lay back against the pillows, calm now. "Dad, what did you think I've been doing with my life these last 6 years?" "I was being honored for developing my customer support platform," I reminded him. "You told everyone it was just some casual work dinner." "I did tell you it was a professional event where I was receiving recognition," he argued. "You said you were too busy to attend a customer service appreciation banquet." I could practically hear him replaying that memory in his head, and realizing the version he remembered wasn't the truth. "And what about when I offered to help pay for Mom's surgery last year?" I continued. "You told me to worry about my own finances, that I shouldn't try to take on expenses I couldn't handle. I was offering to pay $60,000. Did that not give you the slightest hint that maybe I wasn't struggling like you thought? Another stretch of silence. Jessica, if you really have this kind of money, why do you live the way you do? Because I learned from watching you and Mom that showing off money is often just insecurity with a price tag. I'd rather build wealth quietly than perform success for the sake of appearances. My phone buzzed, a text from my property manager. Fire contained. Minimal damage. All residents safe. Building will be fully operational by Monday. I took a breath. Dad, I need to ask something. When you called earlier, you sounded almost relieved. Like you expected this to be the moment everything fell apart for me. Why? I wasn't relieved, he replied too quickly. I was concerned. No. You immediately said this might be the sign I needed to come back home. That isn't concern. That's you expecting me to fail. That's not, I just thought maybe it would convince you to stop struggling. Dad, I haven't been struggling in years. You just never believed I could succeed, so you couldn't see it when I did. I opened my laptop and gathered documentation, property records, business registrations, income reports. I'm sending you some files. I need you to see what I've actually built. You don't have to justify anything. I do. Because as long as you believe I'm failing, we can't have a real relationship. I sent the documents. A quiet minute passed. Then. Good Lord, he whispered. Jessica, these numbers are real? Yes. Summit Property Holdings owns 43 residential and commercial properties. Summit Technologies holds 12 software patents and licenses with major corporations. But how did all of this happen without us knowing? Because every time I tried to share good news, the response was either doubt, criticism, or dismissal. Eventually, I stopped trying. A call came through from the hotel front desk. My car would be ready in half an hour for my meeting with the development firm. Dad, I'm in Tokyo closing a deal that will add another $50 million to my portfolio. You're in Tokyo? How long have you been traveling like this? For the last 3 years. This is my 4th international business trip this year. We thought you couldn't afford vacations. They're not vacations. They're business flights. I travel internationally between 6 and 8 times a year. I just stopped telling you because the conversations always turned into warnings about spending money I didn't have. I heard murmurs in the background. Is Mom awake? She's right here. Put her on. Jessica? Mom's voice was groggy and confused. Your father is saying something about buildings and companies. I don't understand. It's true, Mom. I own the building that was on the news. And dozens more. But, sweetheart, we thought you worked customer support. I own a customer service software company used by 4,000 businesses. 4,000? Yes. And I've had comprehensive health and travel insurance for years. I wasn't uninsured. You assumed that. More quiet rustling, paper shifting. Jessica, Mom said slowly, these account balances, this means you have over $260 million in liquid assets alone. That's correct. And my property holdings are worth around $420 million. Mom inhaled sharply. Dad exhaled like the air had been punched from him. Jessica, you're successful. I am. I have been for a long time. Why didn't you tell us? Mom asked. I did. You just didn't hear me. Another long, heavy silence, this one different. Softer. Humble. When you offered to pay my medical bills, Mom whispered. I meant it. And the idea that it would strain my finances was never true. Mom started crying. Oh, sweetheart. We didn't see you. Not really. I know. And I'm not angry. But I want things to be different now. My phone buzzed again, car waiting downstairs. I have to go. Big meeting. But when I'm back from Tokyo, let's have dinner. Somewhere nice. My treat. We'd like that, Mom said quietly. We're proud of you, Dad added. We should have said that sooner. I smiled faintly. Thanks. I'll talk to you both soon. I hung up and gathered my things. Funny how the night started with a phone call meant to break me. And ended with my parents finally seeing who I'd become. The repairs at the Grandview building were completed, the tenants had moved back in, and life on the property returned to normal. But what mattered more than the restored structure was the fact that I was finally having dinner with my parents, something that hadn't happened in 2 years. I picked them up in my Tesla. I caught the way they looked around the interior, the sleek dashboard, the quiet hum of the engine, the minimal design. This is gorgeous, Mom said, brushing her fingers over the leather. How long have you had it? About 1.5 years, I replied. It's actually my second Tesla. I upgraded when the newer model came out. We drove to Lumiere, a restaurant most people only ever hear about. When the valet opened my door, Dad hesitated, looking up at the polished glass exterior. Jessica, this place is extremely pricey. Dad, I said calmly, I made just over $3 million in Tokyo last week. Dinner is covered. Inside, the maitre d' greeted me by name and led us to my usual table, a private corner overlooking the skyline. Good evening, Miss Chin. Shall I bring your usual wine? Yes, please, and the 2015 Bordeaux to start. My parents will choose their entrees when they're ready. Dad blinked. You have a usual table? I bring business clients here, I said simply. It's convenient, and it makes a good impression. Mom opened the menu, and immediately set it down again, clearly overwhelmed by the prices. Mom, I reassured gently, order anything. I promise it's fine. Once the initial surprise faded, the conversation shifted, for the first time in years, into something warm. Curious. Real. Dad leaned in. Tell us about Tokyo. What exactly were you working on? A mixed-use development project with a partner firm in Osaka, apartments, retail, and office space. It's complex, but the international returns are worth the effort. Mom smiled softly. You always did love big projects. Remember when you used to organize your toys to make little cities in your room? I laughed. I guess I'm just building real cities now. Dad reached across the table, his hand covering mine. Jessica. I need to apologize. Not just for the fire call. For years of not seeing you, really seeing you. Dad. No. I need to say this. We kept assuming you were struggling, and we kept trying to offer solutions to problems you didn't have. We were so caught up in our picture of you that we didn't look at who you were actually becoming. We both did, Mom added. We treated our capable, successful daughter like she was fragile. We're sorry. I held their hands. I didn't build everything I have to prove anything to you. I did it because I love what I do. And we're proud of you, Dad said. We just wish we'd recognized it sooner. Well, I smiled, you can recognize it now. Just ask about my life instead of assuming you know it. Deal, Mom said immediately. Now start from the beginning. How did all of this start? So I told them. For 3 hours, I explained every step, the software, the first rental property, the reinvestments, the scaling, the risks, the breakthroughs. They listened like they were hearing me for the first time. Dad nodded slowly. And Grandview? You rebuilt that? From the ground up, I said. It was half vacant when I bought it. Now there's a waiting list. And your penthouse? Mom asked, eyes wide. 2,000 square feet. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Rooftop garden. I designed every detail. Oh, Jessica, Mom whispered. We thought you were in a tiny studio apartment. I didn't invite you because every time you came over, the conversation turned into a lecture about moving home or getting a real job. It was easier to avoid it. Dad sighed. We won't do that anymore. We'd love to see your real home. Then come by this weekend. After dinner, as we walked out, Dad paused to take in the restaurant one more time. Jessica, are you happy? Not just successful, happy? I thought about it, really thought. Yes. I'm fulfilled. I love what I do. I'm proud of what I've built. The only thing missing was being able to share it. Mom squeezed my arm. Then we'll be part of it. From now on. As I drove them home, Dad spoke quietly. When I called you about the fire, I thought I was delivering disaster to someone who couldn't handle it. But you handled it like it was just another problem to solve. That's exactly what it was. He nodded slowly. I see that now. And I'm proud of you. Truly proud. Thanks, Dad. A week later, I took them on a tour of my properties. They met my team. They saw the systems I built. They saw me. My CTO smiled as he greeted them. Your daughter is one of the sharpest strategic thinkers I've ever worked with. Dad smiled so wide it softened his whole face. We're still getting used to realizing we raised her. That evening, sitting on my rooftop garden, Mom asked. So what's next? I looked out over the skyline. Expansion into London, Sydney, and Singapore. I want Summit Holdings active on 4 continents within 5 years. Dad nodded. And this time, we want updates. All of them. I smiled. It'll be nice to have family cheering me on. Sometimes it takes a fire for everyone to finally see the truth. For us, that fire lit the way back to each other.